And good morning, everybody. It is Fabulous Friday featuring Richard John Allen. And Richard, I've recently just met you, and I was so taken away by your presentation that you gave on your books on grief. And I said, please, will you come and talk to my anybody who might listen on here, because you have. My goodness, Richard, I was really blown away by you. So please, today, everybody, we're discussing Richard's books on grief. Okay, Richard, take it away. Tell us your story. And, I'm sure people will be moved just the way I was.
Well, thanks, Claudia. It was great meeting you last week for the first time. So I appreciate you having me on your show. So my name is Richard John Allen, originally from Liverpool, England. And I moved over to the United States about 25 years ago. As a child growing up, religious background, I guess. I was an altar boy, went to an all boys school in England, Salesian High School. And we had priests were our teachers. We went to mass every day. At one point, I thought I was going to be a priest. I actually went to a seminary school. I was only there for a week, and I realized it's not for me. So that was a bit of a relief for my mum and dad. So I came back and said, I can't do it. It's just too strict and there's a lot to learn. And anyway, religion was a big part of my life. And then growing up, God was always in my life. Religion was always around me in some shape or form. But I'd never experienced grief. Through life, I think we go through all these emotions, don't we? Good ones, bad ones, happy, sad, And at the age of like 5, 6 or 7, I lost my grandparents. So I was very young. So I guess I didn't understand, what was going on. I can still remember some of the funerals, and it was just a bit of a blur. But when I lost my dad, so this was 2020, I think it was like April 2020, I received, I'm living in America, right? North Carolina, my dad, mum and everything, still living in Liverpool. Anyway, in April 2020, I get this text message from my dad, because we used to text a lot about soccer, Liverpool. Anyway, this text was different. And it said, hey, son, I've just had my full physical, got the results back. I've got cancer. I'm riddled with it. I'm going to die. And I'm like, whew. So I immediately write back. Yeah, I was like, Dad, can we do FaceTime? And he's like, no, I'm too emotional.
Yeah.
So I told my wife, Alison, and we got on a plane straight away within a week. And if you remember, this was the start of COVID.
Yeah.
So there was a few people around at the airports wearing masks. Anyway, we get to Liverpool, and out of respect for my mum and dad, we stayed in a hotel just to give my dad some space. This was going to be the first time my wife actually met my dad. So not ideal, right? My dad's dying, and she's going to meet my dad. It was heartbreaking.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, so we stayed in a local hotel in the city centre, and we saw my dad, and like I say, it was heartbreaking. And that first night, we went back to the hotel room, and we were on the 4th floor of the hotel, and you could oversee the city, and we couldn't sleep. We were sitting up drinking whiskey or something. And it was 2 o'clock in the morning, and we could hear the busker down on the ground floor playing Sweet Caroline by Neil Diamond, right? Big popular song.
Oh, yeah.
And we looked out the window, and we could see him down there. And he had a great voice, and he was good on the guitar. And I remember there was like 4 girls who were drunk, and they were singing with him, the lyrics and everything. But that song has forever stuck with me now. That was the time that I saw my dad face to face, and he was telling me he was going to die.
Yeah.
Sorry. And, that week was hard. We spent every minute we could with my dad and my mum and my sister. And we came back to America. And then COVID kicked in full. I remember there was lockdowns, travel bans. Yeah, you couldn't see your loved ones. And for me, it was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
My dad's dying. And I kept asking my dad, can I come over? And he said, no, son, England has got this 2-week quarantine. Even if you come over, you won't be able to see me for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
He's like, don't do it, don't do it. So we didn't. I didn't see him. Couldn't do FaceTime with him. Couldn't do anything because it was too emotional. Anyway, it was November when my sister wrote to me. She sent me a text. She said, "You better come over now.
Yeah.
Dad's about to die." I was like, "Oh." So booked a flight within like 24 hours. My wife was busy at work, so she said she would follow on another flight. So I flew over on my own. It was a crazy experience because this was in COVID. There was nobody at the airports, nobody on the trains. I took a train from London to Liverpool. There was nobody. It was like it was in a horror movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very, very emotional. All the time, Claudia, in my mind, I kept thinking, will I get there in time as my dad passed?
I can only imagine. Yeah.
So I get there, get to the house, and I dropped the suitcase in the hallway. I run upstairs. I go into the bedroom. Sorry. And then my dad's sitting up in bed. And I've never seen him looking so well. And he's watching a John Wayne Western. He always wanted to be an American cowboy, my dad. He loved Clint Eastwood. We did together growing up as a kid. We watched all of those movies. And I looked at him and I said, "Dad, what's going on? Look at you." And he goes, "What are you doing here?" He was confused. He didn't know what was coming. And I climbed up on the bed and I gave him a hug. And I didn't want to let go.
No.
Anyway, I said to him, "Dad, what's going on?" And he said, "I'm fine." He said, "You've come too soon. You know, it's not my time." So I sat next to him and I swear, Claudia, I felt like I was 5 years old.
Yeah.
It was like my dad's always been there to protect me.
Yeah.
Anyway, we spoke for about an hour on the bed. And then I went downstairs to the kitchen, had a cup of tea with my mum and my sister. And this was a Saturday morning. I flew out on the Friday. And as you probably know, it takes like so long to get there. It was the next day. That was Saturday morning. By Monday afternoon, my dad had gone. It happened so fast. I mean, my dad was on the Saturday, he got up and went to the bathroom. Yeah. He was that strong. He was fine. And but Monday afternoon, he passed. He took his last breath. And we were all there with him. But it's still shocking to see or to understand how somebody like that can be watching a movie, chatting, having a cup of tea in bed, and then he's gone 48 hours later. So then, of course, it's the funeral, and you deal. I've never dealt with grief before. Like I said, my grandparents died when I was young, so this is the first time I've lost a loved one like this, and it was my dad. So fast forward through the funeral, and I've written a book on that. That's my first book's actually called "Keep Calm and Cope with Grief." That's all about how to cope. I had to change the book cover, so it's a different picture up there. Amazon wouldn't allow that picture for some reason. It's bizarre. But anyway, so there's a white feather. You've got the current one. With a white feather on the front. Yeah. So that's all about like coping with grief, organizing a funeral, writing the eulogy, the obituary. There's a lot of great stuff in there. And also signs from loved ones.
Yeah.
So you fast forward, let's say 12 months now, just to keep this story short, because you can go on and on, can't you, sharing your story?
Well, it's okay. There are people who are going through grief, and it helps. It helps.
Yeah, I hope so. So we go through the funeral, very traumatic. You know, my wife obviously flew over. We were all there, and we say our goodbyes to my mum. And 12 months later, you know, we're in our house here, and on this particular night. And this is what blows my mind. And maybe you can answer this for me, Claudia, or your listeners can, because I haven't got the answer. I swear it's my dad, right? So we go to bed, me and my wife. It's about 12 o'clock. And I don't know about you, but I take my cell phone and I put it on the bedside table. You know, I plug it into the charger, and my wife does the same. So your phone's on charge and we go to sleep. At 1:16 a.m., my phone goes off. And it's playing the song Sweet Caroline by Neil Diamond. And it's playing loud, full blast. And it's not the start of the song, it's the chorus. I'm not going to sing, but,
Yeah.
but you know the song.
Yes, I do.
So I sat up in bed and I'm panicking and I'm looking around the room. It's pitch black. And I'm calling out, Dad, Dad, Dad. And Alison wakes up and she looks at me and she's like, what's going on? I said, I don't know. I said, my phone's just started playing the song all by itself. And she's like, is it your dad? Is it your dad? I said, I don't know. So I picked up my phone and I couldn't stop it. So I had to switch off my phone. I had to hold down the power button and it went off. So we sat there for an hour and eventually went back to sleep. Now, I've had a cell phone for 30 years. My daughter was born in 94, and that's when I got my first cell phone. So for 30 years, I've had a cell phone. Not once ever has it gone off and played any song. And I actually asked Google, and how many songs are there? And apparently there's 100 million songs out there. So why would my phone play that one song? Now, that one song is not on my phone. It's not saved. It's not in Pandora. It wasn't the last song. I don't pick the song to play because it's too upsetting. So how on earth does my phone just play that song? I don't know. If somebody can tell me, I'd appreciate it, because I think it's my dad sending me a message. Now, 1:16 a.m. is when it played. Fast forward another couple of weeks, I was doing a podcast on a show in Australia. And this guy, lovely guy in Australia, he invited me on as a guest speaker, and we were talking, and I told him the same story. And he looked at me and he goes, Richard, do you read the Bible? And I said, well, I try, but it's very confusing. Yeah, why? And he goes, have you looked at Romans 1:16? Like the time, like this song went off at 1:16. I said, no. And he goes, you need to read that verse, Romans 1:16. So of course I pull up, I've got Bibles everywhere, and I pulled out and looked, and basically 1:16 in Romans says, he who believes will find salvation. And now, again, I'm not stupid. I don't think I'm crazy. And I believe in coincidences and stuff. But was it my dad sending me a message? Because I know my dad believed. Is he telling me that he found salvation? Because it was 1:16. Is he reminding me, Richard, keep your faith? Because if you do, you'll find salvation if you believe.
Yeah.
But, and why did that guy, relate to it so quickly in Australia, who I've never met before? And he says, Rich, you need to look at Romans 1:16. Yeah. And it's just, there are so many incidents, and even my wife has witnessed a lot of them now, and she believes.
I completely do, Richard. All of these that you've written, I mean, they're absolutely fantastic. And I've had my own, things with when I've people have lost, and things have happened. And so, yes, I completely agree with you. And I've helped other clients of mine, get in touch with their loved ones through a grief process that I do, and it's enormously beneficial for them. And it's whatever it is for them. And yes, it is people's belief systems. And, but to me, it all sounds very plausible, because that's my belief system as well.
Yeah.
And so, yes, and it is comforting.
Yeah. I mean, I like I said before, I don't think I'm crazy, and I'm trying to be logical. And my wife is actually a scientist, so we're always looking for data and proof, So when something like this happens, I know this sounds crazy, I look at it from a detective point of view, right? You eliminate.
Curious.
Yeah. Okay. I know it wasn't this. It wasn't that. The song isn't on my phone. It wasn't that, so you eliminate all of that, and you're like, what's left? I mean, and then you think, God, it's got to have been my dad. I mean, I can't think, unless somebody else can say, well, it was this or that. I mean, like I say, I've got dozens of these, and I do mention them in my books. It's funny because if you go back to the funeral, I didn't realize I was actually doing it, but you're collecting memories. I mean, I was meeting people in my family I hadn't seen for 40, 50 years, right? And they're all there at the funeral, and you're collecting memories, but you're also collecting sympathy cards and pamphlets from the church. So when I came back to America, I had a little bag with all these keepsakes. And it was Alison who actually, my wife, she said, write a book. And I shouldn't say this, but I think my English is terrible and my spelling, my grammar, right? So I started making notes, and suddenly I had this book written, 9 chapters on, keep calm and cope with grief. And it did so well on Amazon. I was like, okay. And then suddenly I had this other idea or passion of sharing, there is life after this. So my second book, Life After This, I wanted to get that book out there. Yeah. And tell people that there is life on the other side of what we're in right now. And
I believe there is.
There is communication. Mm-hmm. You just got to keep an open mind, and here I am 6 books in and still thinking, still searching. I'm looking for answers for me. And I guess my books, I just try to share those answers,
Oh, I think it's wonderful because, people always think that the pain of it, the pain of grief just gets less and less over time. Yeah. But actually, what really happens is that, because like you've just said, we just saw your raw emotion again.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
And no, it's fine. Please never apologize for feelings, especially not with me. The what actually happens is that life just gets bigger around it.
Yeah.
And what you have done is that you actually turned it into something wonderful and have gone on to help so many people with these books and, knocking on heaven's door. I mean, and is there proof? So you're getting curious, as you say, detective book.
Yeah.
And it's it's just absolutely fantastic. And the journey into the unknown. And you've got a gate, and actually, fully enough, that's what I take people to in their journey with me. There's a gate.
Okay.
They're not allowed to pass across it, but somebody else is allowed to come through.
Oh,
and
wow. Yeah.
I did it. I remember doing it with a client of mine. And she said, oh, my gosh, she goes, I was there and I had other people coming through giving me messages for their loved ones.
Yeah.
Tell who I know, tell so-and-so I'm fine. Tell to so-and-so, and
yeah. Isn't that crazy?
I know. And then I had one, it was funny. She was laughing. She was in hypnosis. She was laughing. She was going, she's telling me, I'm busy. I'm busy over here. What do you need me for?
Yeah. Yeah.
Get on with your life.
Isn't it weird? So can I tell a quick story on that? Because this is surreal as well. So one of our daughters recently got married. I don't know. It was like, let's say 2 or 3 years ago. And so we don't know the in-laws that well, but we know them. We've seen them a couple of times a year. Anyway, it was about 2 years ago, Easter, that our daughter was having this little party, shall we say, and she was inviting some friends, and there was children there. And of course, her husband's parents were going to be, the in-laws. So we went, and like I say, we know them. And the mother came over, and she spoke to me, and she knows that I've written a few books about grief and stuff. And she said, I went to see a psychic, Richard, last week. And I said, how did that go? And she goes, oh, it went really well. She said, but I've got to tell you something really strange happened. And I said, okay. Now, this lady doesn't know much about me. She knows my name's Richard, and she knows that I'm married to Alison, and that's our daughter that's married to her son. That's pretty much it, right? But this lady then says to me, yeah, when I was with the psychic, she said that a man had stepped forward to speak to her, and his name was John. And she says to me, do you know somebody called John? And I said, yeah, that's my dad. And she goes, well, that's what I thought, but I didn't want to say. She said, because the psychic said, there's a man here called John, and he has a message for Richard. Now, what are the chances this psychic will put those 2 male names together and say to this lady who knows us, there's a man here named John, who wants to pass a message to Richard. And I said to her, what was the message? And she said, the message, I'm going to go again.
It's fine. It's okay.
So she said, the message from John to tell Richard is that I'm okay, and to tell him not to worry.
Yeah.
that I'm okay.
Yeah.
And I'm like, holy God. So I said to her, I said, can I have the name of that psychic? Because I'd like to go and see her. Because she sounds like she's really good. I was like, what in the world? Again, how do you explain?
No, it's and it is, and that's what I do. As I say with my clients, it's very comforting.
Yeah.
For some people, I mean, I had there was one man, complete skeptic. His wife had sent him. He really didn't want to be here. And he came, and we did some another modality, and then we did that, and he was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what you've done, but wow. And because he was very just there was a lot of fear there, but his whole thing was, that they are fine. It will be fine if I die as well, and everybody will be fine. They just let them get on and do their own thing. And he just went, you could see it, all that his puzzles just going, all the pieces going into their places. And his wife was so grateful, because he'd been a bit of a pain to live with, because of this melancholy around the fear of death and what have you. But it can be very, very helpful to help people move on and live their lives as well. Because, Richard, one sure thing in life, we are all going to die.
Yeah.
So
we all have that in common.
So it's like, people don't want to talk about death. We need to. We need to normalize it, and this is why what really I love is that you did this one for children.
Yeah.
And anybody who knows me, because I founded the Bunny Talk process, and it's a lot of feelings for children, and so all I can say is thank you for being you, Richard.
Thank you. Well, I don't know. I'm just me. I'm just going through life and taking it as it comes.
I know, and we all just are us, right?
Yeah.
You've made a difference.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
It really is. It's an absolute honor knowing you, and thank you for these books. Richard, they're all on Amazon, and we are going to put the link in the comments for anybody, and they'll know how to get in touch with you, because we'll obviously have your website in there. So it's and for anybody listening to this, if they do want help with grief, yes, I can help too, because I can help navigate and facilitate the process of getting in touch with somebody through hypnosis, and it will be whatever it is for you. I can never guarantee things, but it will just be whatever it is. But I do help people a lot with this. So Richard, thank you for coming on. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for being authentic and your real self. So it's wonderful having you on here. So thank you everybody for listening, and it's goodbye from me, Claudia Rickard, and it's goodbye from the wonderful Richard John Allen. So take care everybody. Thanks. Bye. Bye now. Bye. Bye.